Almost every civilization past or present known to man has practiced some kind of sport to a degree, and so it would of course make sense that sporting is a key part of life in the Star Wars universe as well. Of course, many Star Wars sports are little more than allegories for real-world sports, and most were often just mentioned and left undetailed to provide a sense of depth to the universe. With that said, however, there are several more unique sports that have actually been described in detail, and here are 3 of the galaxy's most popular. The first sport we're going to talk about is pod racing, something most of you probably saw coming. As anyone who's watched The Phantom Menace knows, pod racing is a sport centered around pod races, high-speed repulsor lift machines that consist of little more than a pair of engines tethered to a control pod. Pod racing was very common in the Outer Rim, especially in the more remote and lawless regions. Hubs of the sport included Malastare and Tatooine. But pod racing has a twist. It's very deadly. Oftentimes, the courses used for races were treacherous, a danger compounded by the breakneck speeds pod racers employed. The high fatality rate resulted in it being banned under the Republic, though of course this stopped pretty much nobody, and illegal races happened even on Coruscant. No human, save one, ever completed a pod race, and most races were aliens with special sensory skills or natural quick reflexes. Our next sport is a bit more obscure, but also a bit more entertaining. That sport would be Noonaball. If the word Nooner sounds familiar, that's because it probably is. Nooners are small, bird-like creatures found on worlds such as Naboo, which were often fried to serve as a delicacy during the Clone Wars. So, what do they have to do with this sport? Well, interestingly enough, they served as the ball. Noonaball was very popular not just because people enjoyed watching the poor birds get punted across fields, but also because of those who participated. Participants in Noonaball were almost exclusively droids, and Noonaball tended to serve as much of a showcase for new droid models as it did a sport. The sport also drew attention due to the frequency of violence between team members, because who doesn't just love to watch droids rip each other apart? And finally, we have Limmy, otherwise known as Bolo Ball, which appears to be the Star Wars equivalent of football. And I'm talking about the rest of the world football, not American football. And to all my American fans, don't you worry, us Australians call it soccer as well, so you're not alone. Anyways, this sport was insanely popular throughout the galaxy, except on Coruscant, where HoloNet newscasters didn't understand the rules, and even the Galactic Cup was poorly attended. Most worlds, however, were incredibly enthusiastic about the sport, and celebrations following Galactic Cup victories often left cities in ruins. The rules of Limmy are pretty much the exact same as those of their real-world counterpart, and dozens of major worlds across the galaxy had their own Galactic-class team. Limmy, among many other sports, was part of the Galactic Games, otherwise known as Imperial Games in later days, which essentially was the counterpart of the Olympic Games we have here on Earth. So anyways, those are some of the most popular sports in the Star Wars universe, and before you go, I have a couple questions. First and foremost, did we miss any good ones? And secondly, which sport did you find most interesting and could see yourself participating in for a good sum of galactic credits? Let me know in the comment section below. Anyways, as always guys, thanks for watching and I hope to see you in the next video.